My brothers and sisters in Christ, today the Church celebrates the memorial of St. Charles Lwanga and his companions, the Ugandan martyrs. And the theme of martyrdom is present heavily in both the liturgical day and our readings. In the case of St. Charles, in his case, he was a young man in the court of the Ugandan king that was not only known as a very violent and monstrous man, but was also a pedophile and was used to having his way with the young men in the royal court. And meanwhile, the work of evangelization was taking place in the country, and many in the royal court came to Christianity, especially among the younger men. And so when the king was confronted with a need to change his behavior, he of course did not take it well and began a great persecution and the killing of many around. St. Charles was the one who was bringing young men kind of under his care to try to protect the various pages from the appetites of the king, but ultimately stood firm when the king put on the spot dividing the Christians from the non, with the certainty that those who stood on one side of the room would be killed, and yet under his watch, all of the young men, and most of them recent converts, joyfully chose death over apostatizing from their newfound faith. And so the story of their death march that they went on, the violent martyrdom, in some ways is like those of others, but the witness to the faith in modern times, this is just in the last couple centuries. This isn't the early church. This reminds us that martyrdom for the faith goes on to the present day. But the main thing to spotlight is the attitude, the joy that as the white fathers, as the missionary priests that they were known as, were weeping to see all these young men put to death for the faith. And a couple of them famously were laughing and said, "Going to heaven, we'll see you there, Father. If what you've told us of heaven is true, why are you sad?" "Well, we're ready to go." And this was a great sign of faith that mirrors what we see, first of all, of St. Paul in our first reading, as his overt arrest and persecutions, trial, and of course, eventually his martyrdom haven't happened yet, but he has the premonition that they're coming. And so he's issuing words of farewell to people, knowing that he won't see them again in life. But he doesn't say this out of despair. He says it out of gratitude for the work that the Lord has wrought through him and joy that he has run the race, as he will later say. And likewise, we hear Jesus in the Last Supper discourse before he goes to his own passion, from John 17, the high priestly prayer of Jesus, praying to the Father in oneness, that the Father has given him all his followers and he has lost none of them other than the son of perdition, and the joy that he knows he's coming to the Father and that he wants where he and his Father are for his disciples to be with them. So all of this from the point of Jesus himself, but down through great church fathers like Paul and all the way to modern martyrs, is this spirit of joy in the gospel that sees nothing in persecution. It pales in comparison to the joy of the gospel, of being called, being known, being loved by the Lord. And we often are impressed by the courage of martyrs. But my question is, do we share that joy? Because while they're courageous, this isn't the same courage as someone who just steadfastly endures being tortured. But this is a martyrdom that is comparing the joy, an untouchable joy of being known by the Lord, that nothing else matters. You want to torture me? Okay. I'm joyful in the Lord. Do we have that same joy? As we come to the end of the Easter season this week, do we know that joy? And if not, what's wrong with us? The Lord has known us. He has drawn us into his divine life. There is so much more than what meets the eye. There is so much more than what is going on in the world around us. That all of these things, the travails, the concerns, the anxieties of the present, are as nothing compared to the love of God. May we remember this as we prepare for Pentecost and truly learn from what we have encountered during this Easter season. May God bless you all.